Hi, I am Sophia. Welcome to True Payback, where story hits different. Hit subscribe, let's dive in.
My name is Emma Harrison, and for 5 years, my family believed I was a failure living off disability checks. The truth? I was a venture capital partner managing a $340 million technology and wellness portfolio. My brother Marcus had no idea that his rapidly expanding gym empire, Harrison Fitness, was built entirely on my anonymous investment. It started when I was 23. A distracted driver ran a red light and T-boned my car at 60 miles per hour. I woke up 3 days later with a shattered pelvis, fractured vertebrae, and nerve damage that would never fully heal. The doctor said I'd walk again, but not the same way. Not without pain. Not without limits. My family's reaction told me everything I needed to know about who they really were. Marcus visited once. He stood at the foot of my hospital bed, scrolling through his phone while I struggled to sit up. "How long is this recovery thing going to take?" he asked, not looking up. I was planning to start my gym business and I kind of need Dad's attention focused on that. My mother came twice. Both times she complained about how the accident had ruined their vacation plans and made her look bad at her country club when people asked about me. My father came every day for a week, then stopped. When I finally got released and called him for help getting to physical therapy, he sighed heavily into the phone. "Emma, we can't keep enabling this dependent behavior. You need to push yourself. Mind over matter." I had 3 fractured vertebrae and nerve damage. Mind over matter doesn't heal spinal injuries. That's when I stopped expecting anything from them. That's when I started building something they'd never see coming. Physical therapy was brutal, but my mind was sharp. While I relearned how to walk with a cane, I started consulting remotely for tech startups. My engineering degree from MIT still meant something, even if my family had already written me off as the disabled one. Within 18 months, I'd turned my small consulting fees into strategic angel investments. Within 3 years, I'd partnered with a venture capital firm and built a portfolio worth $340 million. I specialized in wellness technology and fitness innovations. Ironic considering my own physical limitations. I understood the market because I lived it. I knew what people with chronic pain needed. I knew what adaptive fitness technology was missing. I knew which health apps were genuine and which were scams. And I stayed completely anonymous. Every investment went through shell companies and legal entities. My name never appeared on paperwork. I used trusted partners as public faces. To the world, I was just Emma Harrison, the quiet woman with a cane who lived modestly in a small house. To my family, I was the embarrassment they tried to hide. Marcus launched Harrison Fitness when I was 26. He had big dreams, zero capital, and absolutely no business experience. He'd been a personal trainer for 3 years, and somehow convinced himself that qualified him to run a gym empire. His first location failed within 8 months. He'd overspent on equipment, underestimated operating costs, and had no marketing strategy. He came to family dinner ranting about bad luck and unfair competition. I said nothing. I just listened. His second attempt failed even faster. 6 months and he was bankrupt, living in my parents' basement, posting angry rants on social media about how the system is rigged against real entrepreneurs. That's when I made my move. Through my venture capital firm, I offered Harrison Fitness a $6.2 million investment. Marcus never knew who I was. The term sheet came from Apex Wellness Capital, one of my shell entities. The conditions were simple. I got 40% equity, a board seat held by my proxy, and quarterly financial reviews. Marcus got the money he desperately needed and thought he'd convince some big investor that he was brilliant. He signed without reading the fine print. He never noticed the clause that allowed me to withdraw capital immediately if he violated ethical conduct provisions. He never noticed that the proxy on the board reported directly to me. He never noticed that the anonymous investor he bragged about at every family gathering was his disabled sister. Over 3 years, my investment turned Harrison Fitness from Marcus's basement dream into a 12-location empire. I guided every major decision through my proxy. When Marcus wanted to spend money on fancy office furniture, we redirected it to better trainer salaries. When he wanted to cut corners on equipment maintenance, we enforced safety standards. When he wanted to expand too quickly, we forced him to consolidate and stabilize first. Harrison Fitness succeeded because I wouldn't let Marcus destroy it with his ego. And through it all, at every family gathering, Marcus treated me like garbage. "Still on disability, Emma?" he'd say loudly at Thanksgiving, making sure everyone heard. "Must be nice not having to work." I'd smile politely and say nothing. "I'm building something real," he'd announce at Christmas. "An actual empire. Some of us have drive." I'd nod quietly and change the subject. My mother would add her commentary, "Marcus works so hard. 12-hour days building his business. Meanwhile you just sit at home." My father would shake his head sadly whenever I declined to attend one of Marcus's gym openings. "Can't you make an effort? Your brother is achieving real success. The least you could do is show support." I showed up to exactly one grand opening. Marcus introduced me to his investors and partners as my sister who had a bad accident, and quickly moved on to people who mattered. I stood in the corner with my cane watching him network, knowing that every person in that room was there because of money I'd provided. I said nothing. Strategy requires patience. The worst part wasn't the dismissal. It was the medical gaslighting. Marcus became obsessed with fitness culture, the toxic kind that treats any physical limitation as a moral failing. He started posting on social media about excuses and mental weakness. He'd share memes about people who choose to be victims instead of choosing to overcome. At family dinners, he'd launch into speeches about discipline and willpower. "The body can do anything if the mind is strong enough," he'd declare. "People just use pain as an excuse not to push themselves." My mother would nod approvingly. "That's why you're successful, Marcus. You don't make excuses." My father would add, "Emma, you should listen to your brother. He knows about physical conditioning." I'd sit there with my cane leaning against my chair, my back screaming from sitting too long, my legs going numb from nerve damage, and I'd say, "Interesting perspective." Because what else could I say? They didn't want to hear about permanent nerve damage. They didn't want to hear about vertebrae that healed incorrectly. They didn't want to hear about chronic pain that no amount of positive thinking would fix. They wanted me to be magically healed so I wouldn't embarrass them anymore. The family reunion changed everything. My aunt hosted it at her country club, a sprawling facility with a golf course, tennis courts, and a 3-story main building. 75 relatives attended. Marcus was the star of the event, having just announced his 12th gym location and telling everyone who'd listen about his incredible business instincts. I arrived quietly, parked in the accessible spot, and made my way inside with my cane. I'd learned to navigate these events by finding a comfortable chair and staying there. Movement was possible but expensive. Every step cost me in pain, every stair was a negotiation with my damaged spine. My cousin Jennifer spotted me first. "Emma, you came. How are you feeling?" "Good days and bad days," I replied with practiced ease. "Today's manageable." "Well, don't overdo it," she said kindly. "There are plenty of chairs on the patio." Marcus overheard from across the room. "Don't overdo it," he called out loudly. "Emma, you're 28 years old. When are you going to stop treating yourself like you're fragile?" Heads turned. Conversations paused. I kept my voice calm. "I'm managing my condition appropriately, Marcus." "Your condition?" he scoffed, walking over. "You had an accident 5 years ago. At some point you have to decide to move forward instead of staying stuck in victim mode." My mother appeared beside him. "Honey, he's just trying to help. Marcus knows a lot about physical recovery. Maybe you should listen." I glanced at my father, who was nodding agreement. No support there. Never had been. "I appreciate the concern," I said neutrally. "I'll find a seat on the patio." "See, that's the problem right there," Marcus announced to the growing crowd. "Always looking for a seat. Always looking for the easy way. That's why I'm running $1 million business and you're collecting disability checks." My uncle laughed. "Tell her, Marcus. Sometimes people need tough love." "You know what?" Marcus said suddenly, his eyes lighting up with what he clearly thought was inspiration. "I'm going to prove something right now. Emma, the patio is upstairs. 1 flight. 20 steps. I'll walk with you. No excuses. Let's see this supposed condition of yours." My stomach dropped. "Marcus, I don't need to prove anything." "Come on," he pressed, grabbing my arm. "Just 20 steps. If your condition is as serious as you claim, 20 steps shouldn't matter, right? But if you can do it, maybe you'll realize you've been limiting yourself for years." My aunt frowned. Marcus, maybe that's not. It's fine, Marcus interrupted. I'm a fitness professional. I know how to encourage people past their mental barriers. This is what I do. He was already steering me toward the grand staircase in the main hall. Family members followed, forming an audience. Some looked uncomfortable. Most looked curious. My mother was smiling like Marcus was performing some kind of intervention. We reached the bottom of the stairs. The polished marble steps stretched upward, each one looking impossibly high. My back was already tight from the car ride. My legs were already trembling from standing too long. Marcus, I said quietly, this isn't a good idea. Prove you're not lazy, he demanded, pointing upward. Climb them right now. Show everyone that you can do it. Stop hiding behind this disability narrative and just push yourself. Everyone was watching. My father nodded encouragingly. My mother clasped her hands together like she was about to witness a miracle. My cousins pulled out phones to record Marcus's inspirational moment. Everyone cheered. Actual cheers, like I was about to win some kind of victory by destroying my body for their entertainment. I looked at those stairs. I looked at my brother's smug face. I looked at my family's expectant expressions. And I started climbing. The first 5 steps were manageable. Painful but manageable. I gripped the railing, pulling myself up, each movement sending sharp signals through my damaged spine. Step 6. Step 7. My left leg started dragging slightly, the nerve damage making it harder to lift. Step 8. Step 9. The pain was becoming white noise. My vision narrowed. Step 10. Halfway. Marcus was right beside me, calling out encouragement like I was one of his gym clients. See? You can do this. It's all mental. Push through. Step 11. My back spasmed. I gasped but kept going. Step 12. My leg gave out. I collapsed on the stairs, falling hard on my hip and shoulder. The impact knocked my cane from my hand. It clattered down the marble steps. The cheering stopped. I lay there on the cold marble halfway up the staircase, my body screaming, my vision blurring with pain. I couldn't move. My back had completely seized. My legs weren't responding correctly. Emma. My cousin Jennifer called out, concerned. Marcus stood above me, looking frustrated rather than worried. Come on, Emma. You're so close. Don't give up now. Just 10 more steps. I couldn't speak. Couldn't move. Could barely breathe through the pain. My mother's voice floated up. Oh, for heaven's sake. She's being dramatic again. That's when something in me crystallized. Not anger. Something colder. Something final. I managed to reach my phone in my jacket pocket. My hands were shaking, but I pulled it out. Marcus was still talking, still coaching, completely oblivious. I opened my encrypted messaging app and typed 4 words to my venture capital partner. Execute withdrawal. Harrison Fitness. Then I typed a second message to my attorney. Activate all documentation. Full disclosure authorized. I replied quietly, my voice barely audible. Okay. Within 30 seconds, Marcus's phone started ringing. He pulled it out, frowning at the unknown number. Hold on, I need to take this. He answered, Marcus Harrison. I watched his face change as he listened. Confusion. Then concern. Then panic. What do you mean withdrawn? Who is this? No, wait, you can't just... He was moving away from me down the stairs, his voice rising. I need to speak to someone in charge. This is my company. You can't just... His phone rang again. Different number. He answered it while still on the first call, juggling both. What? No, I'm already on with. What seizure notice? My phone buzzed. A message from my attorney. All documents filed with county clerk. Public record activated. Media release scheduled for 6 p.m. I was still lying on the stairs. Jennifer and 2 of my younger cousins had rushed up to help me. They were trying to figure out how to move me without causing more damage. Someone call 911, Jennifer said firmly. She needs medical attention. No, I managed. Just help me sit up. Slowly. They supported me carefully, getting me into a seated position on the stairs. My back was on fire, but I could breathe again. Could think. Below, Marcus was having a complete meltdown. He was on his 3rd phone call, yelling now. I don't understand. Who authorized this? I own Harrison Fitness. The investor can't just... His phone rang again. And again. Different numbers. Different voices, all delivering the same message. The money was gone. My father approached him. Son, what's happening? The investor. Marcus was nearly hysterical. They're withdrawing everything. $6.2 million. They're saying I violated conduct provisions, but I don't even know what that means. They're seizing assets, freezing accounts. Dad, they're taking the company. My mother clutched my father's arm. They can't do that. Marcus built that company. The investment agreement. Marcus was frantically scrolling through his phone. Where's the agreement? I need to find the clause they're citing. His phone rang again. This time when he answered, his face went sheet white. What do you mean the media has it? I checked my own phone. My attorney had moved fast. The press release was already live on 3 major business news sites. Harrison Fitness exposed. Investor withdraws $6.2 million after owner's public assault on disabled sister. The headline alone was devastating. But the article was worse. It included complete documentation of Marcus's abusive behavior toward me over 5 years. Photos and videos from tonight, including Marcus forcing me up the stairs. The full investment agreement showing the ethical conduct clause. Financial records showing Harrison Fitness would collapse without the capital. Medical documentation of my permanent injuries. A statement from my venture capital firm revealing that I was the anonymous investor. And the final paragraph. Emma Harrison, managing partner of Apex Wellness Capital, built her brother's empire while he publicly mocked her disability. Tonight, she brought that empire down with a single text message. The reunion had gone completely silent. Everyone was reading the news on their phones. Looking at me. Looking at Marcus. Trying to understand what was happening. My father's phone buzzed. He read something and his face went pale. Emma, is this true? You're the investor. I was still sitting on the stairs, my cousins supporting me. I looked down at my family, at Marcus who was staring at his phone in complete shock, at my mother whose face was a mask of confusion, at my father whose expression was shifting from disbelief to something like horror. Yes, I said simply. I'm the investor. I've been funding Harrison Fitness for 3 years. Every location, every piece of equipment, every trainer's salary. All of it came from my venture capital portfolio. Marcus made a strangled sound. But you're on disability. You don't work. You can't. I manage a $340 million investment portfolio, I said calmly. I've been doing it since 2 years after my accident. I specialized in wellness technology and fitness innovations because I understood the market. I invested in your company anonymously because I wanted to see if you could build something real without your ego destroying it. Why? Marcus whispered. Why would you do this? Because you're my brother, I said. Despite everything you said. Despite every time you dismissed my pain, mocked my limitations, told me I was lazy and dramatic and making excuses. I still wanted you to succeed. I just needed you to succeed with some integrity. The investment agreement had conduct clauses specifically designed to prevent exactly what you did tonight, using your platform to shame and harm people with disabilities. But I didn't know. Marcus protested. I didn't know it was you. That's exactly the point, I said. You didn't know it was me, so you felt free to force your disabled sister to climb stairs to prove she wasn't faking. You didn't know it was me, so you felt comfortable calling me lazy at every family gathering. You didn't know it was me, so you posted all those social media rants about people who use pain as an excuse. You showed me exactly who you are when you thought there were no consequences. My mother finally found her voice. Emma, this is cruel. You're destroying his business over a misunderstanding. Mom, I said, and my voice was steel. He forced me to climb stairs despite my medical condition. I collapsed halfway up. You called me dramatic. That's not a misunderstanding. That's who you've always been. We were trying to help you, my father said weakly. No, I corrected. You were trying to make me less embarrassing. There's a difference. Marcus's phone was still ringing nonstop. He was ignoring it now, just staring at me. What happens now? Now. I looked at him calmly. Now your gym locations have 48 hours to find new investors or they start foreclosure proceedings. Your business accounts are frozen pending litigation review. Your board seat is revoked. And every fitness industry publication in the country is running the story about how Harrison Fitness was built on money from the disabled sister its owner publicly abused. "You're ruining my life," Marcus said, and his voice actually broke. "No," I replied. "I'm removing myself from your life. There's a difference. I gave you 3 years and $6.2 million. You used it to build something successful, and then you used that success as a platform to harm people like me. Tonight was just the final proof that you'll never change." The paramedics arrived. Someone had called them despite my earlier protest. They assessed me carefully, asking about pain levels and mobility. I answered their questions while my family stood in shocked silence. "We should transport you to the hospital," the lead paramedic said. "That fall may have caused additional damage." "I understand," I said. "Let's go." As they loaded me onto the stretcher, I took one last look at my family. Marcus was sitting on the bottom step, his phone silent now, his entire world crumbling. My mother was crying. My father looked like he'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. Jennifer squeezed my hand. "Do you want me to come with you?" "No," I said gently. "But thank you for helping me on the stairs. That mattered." She nodded, tears in her eyes. "I'm sorry we didn't stop him sooner." "Not your responsibility," I assured her. The paramedics wheeled me toward the ambulance. Behind me I could hear Marcus starting to cry. Actual sobs. The reality was setting in. The company was gone, the reputation was destroyed, the future he'd imagined had evaporated in 15 minutes. I felt no satisfaction. No triumph. Just a bone-deep exhaustion and relief that I'd never have to endure another family dinner where my pain was treated as a personality flaw. The hospital confirmed what I already knew. The fall had caused additional damage. Not catastrophic, but setbacks that would require weeks of additional physical therapy. They kept me overnight for observation. My phone exploded with messages. Reporters requesting interviews. Business contacts expressing support. Family members, extended relatives I barely knew, apologizing for not intervening sooner. One message stood out. From my venture capital partner Sarah Chin, "Board meeting tomorrow. We need to discuss the media response and legal strategy. Also, are you okay? Not business okay. Actually okay." I typed back, "Getting there. See you tomorrow." The next 48 hours were chaos. Harrison Fitness locations scrambled to find emergency investors. 3 locations found local buyers who stripped Marcus's name from everything. 4 locations accepted a buyout from a national chain. 5 locations simply closed, unable to secure funding fast enough. Marcus's personal brand, the Instagram fitness guru, the motivational speaker, the success story, evaporated overnight. Sponsors dropped him. Speaking engagements were canceled. His social media accounts, once full of comments praising his tough love approach, became battlegrounds where people with disabilities shared their own stories of being shamed and dismissed. My parents called once. My father said, "We think you overreacted. What happened was unfortunate, but destroying Marcus's career seems excessive." I hung up without responding. My mother texted, "When you're ready to apologize and work on healing this family, let us know." I blocked the number. Marcus tried calling from different phones. I never answered. Finally, he sent an email. "I know you won't talk to me. I just want to say I'm sorry. I didn't understand. Thought I was helping. Please give me a chance to make this right." I read it once and deleted it. Some things can't be made right. Some damage is permanent. I, of all people, understood that. 3 months later I gave one interview. Forbes wanted to do a feature on my venture capital success and how I'd built a portfolio while managing a disability. I agreed on the condition that they focus on the work, not the drama. The reporter asked anyway, "Do you regret what happened with your brother?" I thought about it carefully. I regret that it was necessary. I don't regret the action itself. I spent 5 years being dismissed, mocked, and gaslit about my own medical reality. I spent 3 years funding my brother's success while he used his platform to shame people exactly like me. The only thing I regret is not walking away sooner. What would you say to him if you could? Nothing, I said honestly. There's nothing left to say. He showed me exactly who he is. I chose to believe him. The article ran with the headline, "How Disability Became This VC's Competitive Advantage." It focused on my investment strategy, my specialized knowledge of the adaptive fitness market, and how my personal experience gave me insights that able-bodied investors missed. Harrison Fitness never recovered. The brand was too damaged. Marcus filed for bankruptcy 4 months after the reunion. Last I heard, he was working as a personal trainer at someone else's gym, trying to rebuild from nothing. I don't follow his progress. I don't check his social media. I don't ask family members about him. He's simply not part of my life anymore. My portfolio grew. I specialized even more deeply in disability-focused innovations, adaptive technology, accessible fitness equipment, chronic pain management apps. I became known in the industry as someone who understood the market because I lived it. I built a chosen family of business partners, friends, and colleagues who treated my limitations as facts to work around, not character flaws to fix. Who understood that accessibility isn't special treatment, it's basic design. Jennifer, my cousin who helped me on the stairs, reached out 6 months later. We met for coffee. She brought photos of the reunion, not the disaster but from earlier in the day when things were still normal. I kept thinking about what you said, she told me. About how we let it happen. I'm sorry I didn't stop Marcus sooner. You helped me when I needed it, I said. That matters more than perfect timing. She nodded, then pulled out her phone. I wanted to show you something. I started volunteering with a disability advocacy group. We're working on fitness industry accessibility standards. I kept thinking about what Marcus said about mental barriers and how dangerous that rhetoric is. I wanted to do something useful. I looked at her photos. Meetings, workshops, policy documents. Real work. Real change. That's good, I said. That actually helps. I learned from the best, she said with a small smile. You showed me that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is remove yourself from situations that harm you. But also, sometimes you can change the system so fewer people get harmed in the first place. I think about that conversation often. About how one moment of accountability created ripples I never anticipated. About how Jennifer's advocacy work probably prevented dozens of other people from being shamed for their disabilities by fitness professionals who think pain is just mental weakness. I never reconciled with Marcus, my parents, or most of my extended family. The ones who reached out with genuine understanding remained in my life. The ones who wanted me to move past it, or forgive for the sake of family unity, received polite but firm boundaries. Because here's what I learned. Family isn't about shared DNA. It's about shared respect. And respect means believing people when they tell you they're in pain. It means not demanding they destroy their bodies to prove their worth. It means understanding that different doesn't mean defective. Marcus never learned that. My parents never learned that. They wanted me to be someone I wasn't. Someone whose body worked the way they thought it should, someone whose pain was convenient to ignore. I chose myself instead. And I've never regretted it. My venture capital portfolio just hit $420 million. I'm expanding into new markets. Medical devices, telehealth platforms, accessibility consulting. Every investment I make considers the disability community first. Not as an afterthought. Not as a specialty market. But as the primary users whose needs drive innovation. Last month, I funded a startup creating affordable adaptive gym equipment. The founder is a Paralympic athlete who understands what's missing in the fitness industry. We're not trying to help disabled people fit into existing systems. We're building new systems that work for everyone. I thought about Marcus when I signed that deal. About how his entire empire was built on my money, but he never once asked me what adaptive equipment his gyms should include. He never considered that disabled people might want to work out too. He was too busy posting about no excuses to imagine that some people need accommodations, not motivation. That company will do more good than Harrison Fitness ever did. And it'll do it without shaming anyone for their body's limitations. Sometimes I still think about that staircase. About collapsing halfway up while everyone watched. About the humiliation and pain of being forced to prove myself to people who would never believe me anyway. But mostly I think about what came after. About the text message I sent from the floor. About reclaiming my power in the moment they thought they'd taken everything from me. They wanted me to climb their stairs. To meet their standards. To be the person they needed me to be. Instead I built my own empire. One where I make the rules. One where disability is understood as diversity, not deficiency. One where nobody has to prove they're not lazy, to be treated with basic human dignity. Marcus lost everything in 15 minutes because he spent 5 years showing me exactly who he was. I just finally chose to believe him. And I've never looked back.